Hey guys, welcome back to Willpower Garage. Today I'm going to show you how to take your 2013 Audi A4 and put it into service position. Okay, so to get these Audis and Volkswagens into service position, they're a little different. Audis and Volkswagens are a little different, mainly how they attach the front bumper to the actual impact bar. That's the aluminum bar you see down here, but they all come off in basically the same way. As you can see, I've already removed the little plastic shroud that covers this area. I'm going to remove the cold air snorkel from the air box. There's mounting clips here for the top part of the bumper cover. There are usually some T25 bolts in the splash shield. Excuse me. I'm not sure if this has it. When I pull the splash shield back, sometimes there's like a 10mm nut that holds it onto the bumper cover to the front fender. Again, you know, there's variations depending on the model and the year. And then obviously you need to take off the lower splash shield. If the car still has it, it's usually attached to the bumper cover somehow, followed by electrical connections. There's usually a main harness connector for things like the fog lights and parking sensors if you have them on your car. So I'm going to start taking off some of these things. If I see anything strange I'm going to point out, I'll stop the video and I'll point it out. Otherwise, you know, it's pretty straightforward how the bumper cover comes off. And that other 10mm nut back there has to come off. That's the one that holds the side of the bumper cover to the fender. There's nothing that needs to be unbolted for the lower portion of the fender. There's like a notch in the bumper cover and a little finger bracket that's bolted to the fender itself. But this literally just kind of, with a good enough yank, comes right off. You can see there's the little notch there. And then also this, you know, they're separated then. There's usually alignment pins on some of these, so you might have to just kind of pull it this way to get it off. I still have to take the bolts that I pointed out on the top here off before I can fully remove the bumper cover. But I just wanted to point out those bolts. There's one on each side of the car that you need to take off before you can get this off. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to remove that from both sides. And I'm going to continue trying to get the bumper cover off so I can get this thing in service position. Wow, that guy sure does capture a lot of leaves. I don't think I've ever seen anything like this. But everything looks okay. It's just a lot of leaves packed into the intercool area. So maybe that's something you guys with these cars should look out for periodically, especially if you live in areas where there's big oak leaves and stuff that fall and looks like they get trapped in all the air dams and splash shields here. Alright, well, that's off. Next step is remove the bumper cover. Okay, bumper cover's off. Two things I noticed and I want to point out. The fog light on the passenger side is held in with a little like strain relief. Keep the extra wire. You're going to need to pry that off and disconnect the fog lights from both sides. The other one is this module here. It sits right in the front of the grille like this. You can see driver's side of the car. What you do is you kind of push it over to the passenger side, and then you can kind of tilt it out of the clip. There is not really enough room to just remove the harness connector itself. So the next step is we have to take off the impact bumper so we can get the core support to lay forward. The way that's done is there are these bolts here. Let's see if you can see the one up there. The other one's actually down through this hole on that side, and you got the same thing on the driver's side. So that will get my impact bumper off, which also sandwiches the whole front core support. The core support, I probably should have pointed it out when it was in the air, but there are these brackets here, and they are on a pivot on the subframe cradle there. What that is it's literally going to hold this core support and allow me to kind of tilt it forward. It's not going to let me pull it away, but it'll let me tilt it forward. It'll give me more access into the area I'm trying to get into, which is the front of the motor. The only other bolts that need to be removed are these T30s. I'll probably also disconnect the headlight connectors, depending on how much room I have in the harness. Might even have to, pull this part of the harness off so I can get a little more room. Obviously, have to disconnect the steam tube here from the coolant overflow. But basically it's common sense. Whatever's in your way, take that time, disconnect it. Don't try to work around it. You'll save time in the long run if you disconnect whatever you see is in the way. Alright, so I'm going to remove the impact bumper bolts and the impact bumper. As I said, I'm going to disconnect the electrical connections that are in my way. Remove the two T30s, and I'm going to put this thing in service position. And then when I come back in the video, you'll see this thing in service position. So I went ahead and I removed the headlights. They're pretty simple. T25 here, one up here, and one on the back that needs to come off. And then there's just like a spring tab here. You can kind of see it here. You got to kind of push up from the back side of the fender, and then that whole bracket with the headlight comes off. Just slides forward. Just one bolt here as well. And then just disconnect the wire and the headlight comes off. I think on the end of things, it's probably better for me to have these headlights out of the way. I don't have to worry about it hitting the fender or damaging any of that. But also, the impact bumper could stay on. You just need to remove these 3 bolts from each side, and then remove these T30s on the top. Alright guys, as you can see, that is service position. You can see I left the impact bumper on, but having the headlights off did make it much easier. I have done this in the past with the headlights on, but like I said, I'm always fighting with the fender and the way it's coming up and out. For the few seconds really it took me to get the headlight off, it's well worth it. The other thing I wanted to point out here is the hood release. You will have to remove the cable. Audi has this nifty little junction here. You have to remove the metal bracket because, as you can see here, this tab actually goes around this ring here that holds it in. I only removed the one side. You should remove both, really. There is a cover that goes over it. You have to pry the tabs off here so you can get that off, and then this thing just kind of slides back and out of the way. Be very, very careful. It is made of plastic. If it is cold, it is brittle, it will break, and then you'll have to replace it because you know, it's what holds this little ball into that socket. Once that is all out, you can see these little wings here. You literally just slide it back out, and then you can pop the ball out from the top. Obviously, I pointed out you need to take the coolant return or steam pipe off of the coolant reservoir bottle, and you can see how little room you have with the headlight connection. So regardless if you left the headlights in or not, you have to disconnect that harness. The other one that I mentioned, I also had to back up out of the way the air condition pressure sensor switch here. Harness, that connector's here somewhere now. I just kind of pulled it back to give me slack out of this. And then you kind of just go down slowly with this. You can see I still have the radiator hoses connected, which is great because at the time being I don't need to mess with anything coolant wise unless I have to remove the cylinder head, in which case I'm going to have to drain the coolant anyway. But from here, you know, just be careful getting everything down and out of the way. And you can see how much room you get on the front of the motor now.